This is another really good example from Cambridge, and it's the final question from the Chapter 9 review. What we've got is a home buyer taking out a reducing balance loan. So now remember, I'll just quickly write up our convention here again. Reviews. So basically our rule is we write amounts as a positive when the bank gives us money, and negative when we give the bank some money. Okay, so as crazy as this sounds here, we're taking out a reducing balance loan. This is a loan. We're actually going to write that up as a positive amount because we're considering this as the bank giving us the money. I know we have to repay it, but anyway, go with me on this. So we're going to use the financial solver again on this. Let's go into that. And remember that we're doing compound interest. Alright, so again, it comes up blank, or if you're well within the chapter here, it'll come out with the stuff from the last lesson or the last question that you did. Sometimes a good idea just to clear all, just to get rid of everything else that's there, because you might be tempted to leave compounding periods as quarterly and things like that. So anyway, now the loan is $250,000. That's the present value. So remember, the bank's giving us this money, so it's positive $250,000. So cheap house as well. Or the guy had a lot of money, or the woman had a lot of money. We've got an interest monthly rate 6.25. Now remember, that is the annual interest rate. So don't be converting it here to quarterly or anything like that. We don't have to worry about that. The loan's going to be fully repaid in equal monthly payments over 20 years. So we have 20 years worth of 12 lots of these compounding periods, so that the loan's basically going to be repaid over 240 periods throughout its lifetime. Now, because it's being repaid, basically I'm saying the future value is going to be nothing, because I'll have nothing left. Now remember, we don't have to write that down as negative or positive because it's just zero. So now what we want to do, obviously I haven't even read the question, but I presume they're going to want us to find the monthly repayments. Find the monthly repayment, or find the monthly payment amount in dollars correct to the nearest cent. So let's find it. Oh, that is quite high. So that's suggesting our monthly payments are $15,000, and of course you've got to be good enough to note that what I have forgotten are these things down here. Number of times interest is compounded a year, 12, and remember we're making 12 payments a year then. Okay, we're making monthly payments. So again, I'm happy to make an error on that, as long as you're not going and writing down that you are giving the bank $15,600 in repayments every month. Now let's re-click on that, and that's a much more reasonable $1,827. They want it to the nearest cent, so my answer to this one would be $1,827.32. Okay, calculate the total interest that will be paid over the 20-year term of the loan. Alright, so if these are the payments, what I'm basically going to do in Financial Solver is I'm going to delete the stuff off the end there because they've told us to round it in the previous question. And if they're our repayments and I'm making 240 of these repayments, that's the first thing I'm going to do is multiply it by 240. Alright, so basically in the lifetime of the loan I'm going to repay, including the original $250,000, $438,000. Now that's not atypical, so a lot of students see that and go, oh my god, it's like, double the loan, or almost double the loan. But yeah, that's just what you have to do if you're buying a house, is well, suck it up pretty much. Now this question says the total interest that will be paid. That's the total amount of the loan, so we're just going to remove 250,000 off there as well, and basically I'm going to pay $188,556.80 in interest alone. That's a lot, okay? That's only on a $250,000 loan, so you can only imagine, you know, if you got a $500 or a $1 million loan, what you end up paying. 188,556.80. That's the amount of interest that I pay. Now keep in mind also that you can copy these values. If you don't like doing the calculations in Financial Solver, just copy the amounts into main and do all your work in main. Okay, but I'd prefer to just stay in Financial Solver just for efficiency. After 60, so I'm looking at B, after 60 monthly payments have been made, what will be the outstanding value of the loan? Write your answer correct to the nearest dollar. Okay, so 60 monthly payments. So they've given us the number, still 6.25% interest. The present value was still that. Now I'm just going to fill in my payments. Now remember that payments are me giving that to the bank, so I write this down as a negative, 1827.32. And what I want to know is what the future value is. Okay? And basically it's saying that I'll owe the bank $213,117.81. They want it correct to the nearest dollar, so we'll just write it as $213,118. Now just be careful with this, and what should happen, imagine you screw up and put a positive sign and forget to do that. If you look at the future value, then something weird is going to happen, and basically in repaying this $250,000, it's saying that at the end of 60 time periods, you're going to owe the bank $470,000. The loan's increased. Now that's not altogether impossible, but if we're repaying a loan, generally these questions will have us actually eating into the principal. So often if you're doing this and find that your future value of the loan is more than the original amount, you're doing something wrong, and so often that's a sign to you to check your negatives. Okay, let's fix that one up. Alright, so by making a lump sum payment after 9 years, the home buyer is able to reduce the value of the loan to $100,000. So that's the value, or the present value of the loan, $100,000. Now, at this time his monthly payment changes to that, so let's get rid of that, making sure that we still keep the negative sign out the front, 1250. The interest rate remains at 6.25% per annum, and with these changes, how many months in total will it take for the home buyer to fully repay the $250,000 loan? So the future value of the loan switches to 0, indicating that we've fully repaid it. Compounding periods and payments stay at 12, and we go to number of repayments. So that's saying it'll take 104 repayments, or 103.7. 103 is too few. 104 will pay off the $100,000. So it's going to be 104 repayments. But, okay, and this is a bloody good question, I have to admit, and I know this because I fell for it hook, line and sinker, is that also it says here, with these changes, how many months in total will it take the home buyer to fully repay the $250,000 loan? So we've got to be careful here, because also they've done 9 years worth of repayments prior to this to reduce the loan to $100,000. So actually I've got to add to this amount here 9 lots of 12 repayments, because I do that for 9 years, 12 repayments for each of those 9 years. Alright, so that's actually 211.7 or 212 repayments in total that it will take to pay off the loan. So 212 is my answer for that one. So that's a real tricky one, that one. Not tricky in so much as I bet students in the state really wrote 104 as the answer to that one. It's 2010, we could check that out and see what the stats are on that. But certainly it's just a case in point example in further mathematics of making sure that you read the question. And they've added this slippery little thing in here, which, yeah, again, like I fell for it. So yeah, you've got to be careful of that one. So that's now an example there where what you're doing in this case is you're using positive amounts to start the question. That is, the bank is giving you it, or you're taking out a loan.